start resume recording. A quick review of some of the need to knows we will cover that have been in our newsletters in current days. We are now full for our masterclass, so thank you to everyone for jumping in on that, and they're doing their confirmations as we speak. If any of them have to pull out for any reason, we have got a wait list that is open. So if you didn't get an opportunity to register for the 29th of March, it is a full day session in Canberra, which covers 4 extremely important topics. So if you really want to jump onto that, give me your name, and we'll put you on that wait list, and we'll let you know as places come about. We also have quite a few different opportunities for people to get involved, and in the true spirit of the Metal Ox, we're looking at solutions and diving ahead into some of the challenges that we have ahead of us. We have the call for the mountain bike subcommittee, which is an important one to look at some of the opportunities that we have around mountain bike trails and acceptance of mountain bikes, but also the cooperation between activities when it comes to mountain bike trails. The second one is the auditors panel. So if you are skilled in understanding the AAAS and you're a business that can go and provide services to other businesses to help assess them on their AAAS compliance, that panel is available now. The link is on the newsletter. Go through, submit all your content, and we'll have a panel of operators that if you're a provider, you can certainly select from one of them to have them come and assess your business and how your processes meet the AAAS requirements. The Outdoor Certification Industry Challenges Subcommittee. Now, this was born, if you remember, out of a proposal that Outdoors New South Wales and ACT brought to you, which was the Outdoor Leaders Certification Program. That generated amazing discussion and content around really what some of the challenges of the sector are. So this subcommittee is incredibly important, the fact that it's going to review some of that comment that came from industry and really start helping us pave the way forward into what are some of the solutions to get to the outcomes that we want. And exciting news, I released it quickly last week, but the ACT operators now can jump on to a program that we're running on a PR campaign. Thanks to Canberra Tourism, we have some funds to put into a PR campaign to get the word out in New South Wales about what people can do in the ACT in an outdoor environment. So a lot of aspects on, what sort of activities they can do. A lot of our members will be involved in this, so we can get the word out around being outdoors in Canberra. And the Nature Place strategy, can I say 15th of February, that's really important if you're in that sector. We have the second workshop next week, and if you're interested in joining, please click the link on that membership newsletter and that will send you to the registration page. Sam Crosby from Centennial Parklands will be helping to facilitate that, and she'll give an update where it's up to and showcase some of the things that they're looking at. So it's great to see that's progressive. We're very excited because this is such an important area in the development of kids in the outdoors. And the second thing on that bottom there is about the Australian Tourism Industry Council Insurance Survey. This was brought about by the Australian Tourism Industry Council to look at how tourism businesses were affected with insurance issues. We had a big topic last week on insurance, great conversation. This is just asking about your individual issues when it's come to insurances or insurance renewals, so that they can look at the specific needs of the tourism sector and maybe take carriage. We will be working alongside them, obviously helping them with where we've been in this space, as well as the submission we made to their small business ombudsman when they did their survey. So please, if it is something of interest, fill out that survey. And then the last thing there was in relation to some of you have expressed a difficulty in recruiting for certain peak times, and some of you may have excess staff at certain times. So we've worked with a couple of you already, but if there's organisations that are interested in a job share arrangement with other operators, please reach out and let us know so we can help connect you with some of those opportunities, whether you need staff or you have staff. So yeah, I strongly urge you to jump in and let us know. Thanks, John. You just let me know the tourism insurance survey closes today. So yeah, please get in there and do that if you haven't already. Connect and Share's coming up. So next week we have Exploria. I think I've mentioned this a couple of times now. This is a great tool for businesses to really engage visitors on a digital level, as well as the outdoor level. So quite interesting content there. And then the 26th of February, after next week's session, obviously, we will have a full debrief of what occurred at next week's workshop on the 26th of February. So if you miss next week's workshop and you're still interested, jump onto our Connect and Share on the 26th of February and you'll get the lowdown. And the 5th of March will be around severe weather. So that'll be another great session if you are looking at your processes and procedures around catering for severe weather, which we seem to be certainly getting a lot of peaks in this area right now. Please jump onto that session. We'll have a great workshop discussion around planning for severe weather. And don't forget, if you missed any of our Connect and Shares, they're all on YouTube. And you can go back and look at any of the topics that have interested you, or if you wanted to refresh on a certain topic, they're all itemized there with the topics, and you can review to your heart's content. So I'm just going to not stop sharing here, and I'm actually going to introduce a very dear friend who I've known for way too long. Mr. John Skilly has joined us today, and John comes to us from the University of Western Sydney, or sorry, Western Sydney University. It's the old name I'm using. Let me unmute you there, John. There we go. Oh no, it didn't work. Do you want to unmute yourself on that? Yeah.
There you go. So better?
That's perfect. Now, I've spoken to John about some of the, I suppose, the capacity areas that we're working on and training with you, but I've just asked John to quickly jump on and tell us about a quick program that might be of interest to some of the small businesses. Thanks, John.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Laurie. Guys, good morning. I wanted to alert you to a government program, which in my view is probably one of the better ones that's come out, because there's no 50-50 component here. Normal government programs, as Laurie and I both know, over the years have always been on a 50-50 basis. But this one is a little different, and it's part of what they call the BBIP program, which is the Building Business Innovation Program, and Western Sydney University are part of that. The actual hosts of the program are the 11 universities in New South Wales plus CSIRO. So we get access to some funding, and they've come up with, the government have come up with a new initiative called the, I better get this exactly right, it's called the Innovation Districts Challenge. Now, essentially what it means is that there's money available for assisting startups to get through, startups and SMEs. And in fact, I'll talk about the eligibility criteria in a minute, because it's not startups at all. But it's to assist them to get through the crisis created by COVID-19. And the actual comments they make about that, and I'll just read this to you verbatim, and excuse me, I came on very quickly on this, but in essence, what we're looking at is calling for solutions that strengthen the economic resilience of New South Wales business to recover from the impacts of COVID-19. Now, there's been one challenge already. The amount of funding available is $500,000 per challenge. So it's not a small amount of money. And this is the second of 3 challenges, and it's started and available right now. Now, in essence, what you have to do, and it is a process, it is a competitive situation. The awards, in fact, for the best applicant, and remember there's going to be applicants coming from all 11 universities and CSIRO, so it is a competitive situation, but the highest ranked applicant gets $250,000. Now, that's not a small amount of money. The next one gets $100,000. The third ranked applicant gets $30,000, and the highest ranked applicant in each innovation district, and there's about $10,000 each for 12 other applicants in the innovation district. So there's a bit of a spread there. Now, the criteria for applying for this grant is I'll read this out again because you need to take this on board. And a lot of this, of course, is I've sent a media release to a copy of a media release to Laurie. She'll no doubt forward that to you. And there's a link there which you go straight through to the government portal and you can have a look at it. But I'll read it out to you here. You need an ABN registered in New South Wales, obviously. You need to have, and this is the interesting part, you need to have less than or fewer than 200 employees. Now, that to me sets the bar pretty high because you're looking at companies, in my estimation, probably between 20 and $30 million could apply for this if they felt inclined. The minimum requirement is a $75,000 a year turnover. So you've got between $75,000 a year and $200,000 or 200 employees, whatever that relates to. It's got to have a product or service which may still be in development, that it intends to market within 12 months, that directly addresses the health and well-being impact of COVID-19 in New South Wales. And the ownership of your company has got to be at least 75% Australian, and it's not more than 50% owned by another business. So they're the criteria. There's more detail about that on the government website. But what you do is you go to the government website, you log in for more information, and then you get to select which host you would like to apply through. And that basically works out that you go, and there's all 11 or 12 hosts nominated there. We, of course, Western Sydney University are one of them. You click on the link to your preferred host, you get through to our particular link, and then you go through the process of making an application through our website, and then we take it over from there and we guide you through that process. It's a reasonably short time frame with this. We're looking at the whole thing being done and dusted probably by the middle of April, so you need to move reasonably quickly. Any assistance, additional assistance you need, go back to Laurie, and Laurie can get on to me about assisting in any way I can, and I'm happy to do that. But look, it may not suit all of you, but it may suit some of you. So it's money there. It's not going to cost you guys anything other than a bit of hard work. So if you think you're inclined to go for it, because as I said earlier, it's not a 50-50 process here. This is straight out cash in the bottom line. So, you know, it doesn't happen very often with the government. So got any questions on that? Is it straightforward? Anything you want to add or anything you want to ask, feel free.
That's awesome, John. Thank you. I've just put the media release into the chat, so everyone's got access to that. You can download that straight away. How is the application process, John, fairly straightforward, or what do you recommend people get ready?
Yeah, it's what it requires. First of all, Laurie, is you go into the selected portal of the host, and you fill out an expression of interest. Mm-hmm. The expression of interest is very, very basic. It comes through to us. We will have a look at it and we'll sort out, because there's going to be a few lunatics going through the whole thing. So we'll sort out the rubbish, and then we'll then send another form to the candidate if we think that they've got merit, and that'll be a supplementary information form which they'll fill out in more detail. And that starts the initiation of the whole process. And then it goes through a selection panel, and we get eventually to nominate our 3 best to the government. So it's pretty straightforward, but we can help you go through all that. Yeah,
awesome. That's great, John. Thank you so much for coming in such late notice, but I thought it's better you speak to it than myself and your experience in this area. So please feel free to reach out, and I will connect you with John, because he's got a wealth of knowledge when it comes to business development and improvement processes. And this is a great opportunity if you're really looking to innovate your business and look at some new ways of operating. This is certainly one that you should look at. Thanks so much, John.
Laurie, thanks very much. Thanks very much, guys. Good luck. Keep in touch. Thanks.
Absolutely. Take care. Awesome. Our next guest speaker is the speaker of the week, and that's Take 3 for the Sea. And we've got Nicole with us, who's going to take us through a program that is really streamlined to look at the tourism operators and the adventure tourism operators along the coast. So Nicole, without further ado, I might just hand it straight over to you and you can jump into your presentation.
Thanks, Laurie. I'll just pull up the screen. All right, how are we looking?
That looks great.
Great. Thanks, everyone. My name's Nicole Holly. I'm with Take 3 for the Sea. And today I'm going to talk to you about a new project that we're rolling out with the tourism industry. So I'll get into a bit of detail soon. So we'll talk to you about Take 3. I'll give you an overview of the problem, a little bit about the project, and hoping to have a little discussion with you about some of the issues that you're facing with litter reduction and management at the moment. So before I get into it, Take 3 acknowledges that we operate and function on the lands of the Darkinjung people. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. So a little bit about Take 3. We are an independent, not-for-profit New South Wales charity. We've been around since 2019 to address the growing problem of plastic pollution entering our ocean. We're all about simple solutions for complex problems, and a lot of our work is in education, working with industries, working with schools, and getting on the ground and physically cleaning up our oceans and waterways. The problem that we're looking to address with this project and by partnering with the tourism industry is the problem of plastic pollution generated by tourism and tourists. It's estimated that over 35 million tonnes of solid waste is generated per year by tourism businesses globally. And according to data from the UN, 30 million tonnes of new plastic is created annually, utilising non-renewable resources such as oil, gas and coal, which contributes to climate change. As you know very well, tourism waste varies seasonally and is generated in the areas that we're looking to show off, which puts pressure on waste management facilities during peak seasons and damaging high nature value resources. What we're talking about today is an opportunity to work with Take 3 to not only help solve the problem of plastic pollution, but also position your business as a leader in litter and waste reduction. We're also asking you to invite your customers along for the journey. So in New South Wales alone, litter costs $180 million to manage. And to date, the tourism sector hasn't been targeted as a sector to own it and act. So the project that we're talking about is research-based, and we're looking to look at some areas that three areas in New South Wales to see what issues exist and what we can do about fixing those issues. So, First Wave Project. We are the recipient of a grant from the EPA. It's part of the Waste Less, Recycle More initiative, which is funded from the Waste Levy. This project is broken into broad goals and very specific goals, so I guess talk broadly first. What we're hoping to do over the next 9 months, which the project runs from January to September this year, is to hear from tourism businesses, work with tourism businesses and generate a litter prevention strategy which is applicable to New South Wales tourism as a whole. We're hoping that we can then leverage that to roll it out nationally and beyond. So what we're doing is, and specifically, it just gets to the specific project, is where we've got 2 partners. We've got Outdoors New South Wales and ACT, who we're thrilled to be working with. And we're also partnering with National Parks and Wildlife Service. So the research part of the program will cover areas in both parks and off park. And we're looking at 3 areas in New South Wales, roughly at this stage, and also open to change depending on what sort of interest we get. We're looking at Shoalhaven, Royal National Park and the Coffs Coast, although again that may shift depending on interest and availability. So we're looking at those 3 sites. We're choosing 3 locations within those 3 sites, which may be a visitor centre, it might be a walking tour, it might be launch infrastructure, it might be park, again, yet to be determined. We're going to do a check on what sort of litter and plastic exists in those locations now, pre any strategy rollout. We're asking operators to work with us on a simple survey. So filling in a survey, doing some consultation and having some discussions around what the issues are in those 3 locations and in those 3 sites in those 3 locations, and forming a strategy based for those locations. And so once we've formed the strategy and worked with partners to implement the strategy, we'll go back at the end of the project and see what impact those strategies have had on the locations that we're working in. So to support that project, where as we go along, we're developing a toolkit of resources. So whoever we're working with won't be alone. I'm working with a colleague, Rebecca Dawes, and we've got the Take 3 team as well. So we're here to support our project partners as we go through. So once we've got that toolkit of resources, we're really looking to share that more broadly with the industry. It's not something that's going to be only available to project partners, but that will come at the very end of the project. So we want this to be big and sustainable, and we want it to be useful. So the project supports the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which is another, I guess, potential for any marketing you might do in this area to customers, to consumers, around your credentials as a Take 3 partner. It's absolutely embedded in what the UN is trying to achieve. So I thought it might be an opportunity now to open up to a discussion. I'd really love to hear from anyone about what's currently happening at the moment, if there's any action that started on litter reduction, and what you're doing to support it.
Brilliant. Okay, Nicole, thank you. And obviously you haven't finished your presentation, but yeah, it's a great opportunity for you guys to tell us, you know, what is your feeling around this at the moment, and are you doing anything, or are you actively doing something, or what is the reception from your customers in this area as well? Is this something that your customers are conscious about? Yeah, if you'd like to just tell us a bit about this area in your particular area in your business, that'd be great. What have we got there? Anyone want to jump up? And
I'll just very quickly dip an oar in, even though we're a bit more than 100 kilometres from the coast.
It's fine.
Awesome.
You still got
awesome. I guess the waterways all run in there, right?
Totally.
Something that we did a few years ago that might just be you know, helpful. We outsource our lunches, so a local provider makes lunches. They do a great job. They used to wrap them up, you know, a couple of layers of paper and in a layer of Glad wrap. And we had a bit of a chat with them and said, hey, could we jettison the Glad wrap deal? And that's helped us in a few ways. It just means at the end of the day, well, I guess if something does happen and we lose a bit of rubbish, it's not great, and we aim not to, but at least it's going to break down, you know, at some point. The other thing is that at the end of the day, that rubbish goes away. It doesn't go in a landfill. It can get composted or possibly recycled. And yeah. So I don't know. Hopefully, you know, I can imagine lots of bits of Glad wrap winding up in the coast. Maybe that's something that could be helpful.
Absolutely, that's a great one.
Thanks, you.
I've heard of businesses, who refuse to use reusable coffee cups, or working with caterers, for example, to limit their footprint. So that's a really great example.
Hugh, what's your customers' thoughts in this? I mean, are they huge advocates in general, or are they mixed, or where are they up to?
I don't know. It's not something that generally is asked of us when people are considering booking with us. But at the same time, it's often something that comes up over the duration of a 2-day course. You know, we might be talking about recycling, and so I think a lot of people are probably aware of it and think about it. But maybe it's sort of, if there's something on a website, or if there's maybe it's something that would be a point of differentiation as people book on. But I doubt that it's something that would come up in a phone call or an email sort of thing. Yeah. Doesn't mean people aren't thinking about it though.
Yeah, cool. So it's not a forthright decision breaker for them, but certainly it's probably an underlying factor.
Might just be one of those little things that add up, that they go, oh, we're going to go with these guys rather than the other ones.
Yeah, great. And Nicole, just so you know, Hugh's in the Blue Mountains.
Blue Mountains, fab. Oh, we're working on a Rivers to Sea initiative, which it really, covers everywhere.
We need to have a gossip after this. I've got yep.
Right.
No, love to.
Yeah, brilliant.
Love to.
Fabulous.
Is anybody doing things like water refill stations, or I don't know?
Nicole, I think Mark's got
sorry, Mark.
Hand up. So I think, Mark, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that we're not near the coast, but we operate. Okay. We do go near the coast, but we operate everywhere through South Australia through to Queensland. One of the things we found is COVID has presented us a problem, because before COVID we would have we had cups that we reused, all crockery, cutlery, but we can't wash that to meet the health requirements at the moment. And so finding resources that we can use that are compostable is an issue. But then we're struck with the issue of, we'll turn up, we might have a morning tea break on the side of the road on the way to Cootamundra, and we get to Cootamundra and they can't take the rubbish if we sort it. They just put it into a plastic bag and dump it in the skip. And the same thing we find when we're travelling, say across Cape York. The places we're staying don't have recycling. And the reason I'm raising this is on our last tour we had a couple of people who were pretty picky about what they took from us. They were very conscious about waste and recycling, and to the extent that we have to provide COVID safe handing over of food and food safety precautions, and one person didn't want the paper tray and the paper napkin. He wanted it handed in, so he wanted it handed directly to him. So it was, that's the other extreme of it, that people not wanting to even touch a piece of rubbish or potential. But COVID is an issue for us, but it's also really when you're going into places like, we can't over a 14-day trip carry and segregate all of our rubbish and then dispose of it when we get.
Yeah, so if the facilities don't exist, it's not something that you can, sort or,
But the Glad Wrap idea that Hugh came up with, we'll be doing that. So.
Do you think, I know COVID's changed everything, and the concept of international visitors is kind of moot at the moment, but is there a difference in behaviour or attitude that you've noticed between, say, local visitors and international visitors when it comes to, rubbish and disposal of rubbish?
I think, no, I haven't noticed with that, but I've noticed with international travel, are more aware of the environment. We took a group to South Australia, Eyre Peninsula, and we were walking on a cliff top, and a number of them commented about they wouldn't be allowed to walk on the environment where we were because of in the United States because of the fragile surface. Not that the cliff top was dangerous, but it was that the ecosystem that holds the sand together is very fragile. They were noticing that there's not very much communication in that respect here in Australia compared to it. But that's the only comment that I'd say. But from I don't know, we haven't noticed that from food or rubbish.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got a thought.
Yeah, Dave.
We've certainly noticed that all of our staff are I'll pick up the rubbish on the canoe trip, go to the bank if it's something in the water or on the trail. So the staff are picking things up and putting them in their packs. But I think there's an increase in awareness, certainly in the Alps and Victoria here, of the customers. The general visitors to towns, your tourism visitors, I think are probably putting more rubbish around rather than less. So I think there's a big difference between the adventure type people and just your general tourists that I've been noticing.
No, it's a good point. It's like a bit of a tug of war. It goes one way and goes the other way. So
there is another thing that I just like to bring up that adventure tourism operators are huge users of plastic plastic style products, ropes, harnesses, helmets. They all have a short life, and there is no easy way of recycling it. Most of this stuff. A helmet, if it's plastic, you can take the inside out and possibly put it in the recycling bin. But for instance, I go through 120 kilograms of rope a year. So that's just my little tiny operation. Because we do abseiling and a lot of it. We're going through 120 kilos, approximately 100 kilos, say, of rope a year. And while you can use it to the scouts for tie downs or bits and pieces, it might be worth our industry looking at, are there ways that we can take some of the products that we're, for safety reasons, moving through fairly quickly and having them made into, I don't know, park benches or bricks or into roadworks and stuff.
Yeah, great idea.
Back to hemp rope, Dave.
Well, I've still got some from and all my old climbing gear and some Joe Brown helmets. I would like to use it.
Is everyone else wanting to say? Sorry, go Dave.
You do wonder if that, say, with some things that we also should be getting the manufacturers to try and look for alternative materials. And when I buy a piece of equipment through a wholesaler or retailer, like it might be a carabiner, just a little metal thing, right? It comes with a huge paper instruction in 52 languages, and it's in 3 sets of packaging.
Yeah.
Right? So
the
packaging that our equipment arrives in and is sold in could also be looked at. I don't think we need anywhere near, like a roll of rope comes in a plastic container. It's on a plastic, it's on a roll, and then it's got plastic wrap on it, and then it's in a box.
What have you got there, Hugh? Is that a caravan? Oh, you're muted. Hold on.
What was that, sorry?
He needs to unmute himself.
Yeah, it probably work better now. So this is exactly what Dave was just talking about. It's a carabiner clipped through a bit of plastic with a set of instructions attached to it that I don't think have got anything to do with the carabiner inside a Ziploc bag. So it's sort of, I couldn't agree with you more, Dave.
Yeah, it's really valid. Cool.
Yes.
Anyone else got any thoughts in this area? I think I saw Mel a minute ago. Is she still? Oh no, she's jumped off. It'd be good to hear from someone that's got a large facility. But Rob, you're in the target area, as is Helen. You operate on the Central Coast, I think, don't you, Helen?
Sorry, not on the Central Coast, in sort of further north than the Central Coast, not in New South Wales, really, as much as other states. Hence, not much operating.
Yeah, cool. And what are your thoughts in this area? Do you actively look at this as a brand of what you do?
Definitely look at waste reduction and recycling, and using different kind of compostable products and things for packaging food and things, and reusable containers or whatever. But yeah, haven't really kind of looked into more, other methods.
Yeah, sure. Nicole, I think where Helen's business activates as well as a lot of our industry, although we're in the sort of tourism space, we work with the youth. So it's probably a little bit of a different message, and it's probably, I don't know, are the youth more up to speed with this than we are, or is it even in their mindset to even think about it?
It definitely is. It seems that it's definitely, there's a big emphasis through schools and young people to reduce waste and understand, the life cycle of products.
Yeah, awesome. They're going to be on this planet a lot longer than us. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Rob,
Sorry, just on that.
Go, Dom.
Sorry, I was just going to say there's a wonderful young person, and I can't remember the name at the moment, but up in Cairns, and she started a big campaign to get phased out plastic drinking straws, and has had amazing impact. And I just don't have her mind in my mind, her name in my mind at the moment. But and she was just a high school student in Cairns, and has done some really good stuff, and particularly about obviously Great Barrier Reef is on their doorstep. But it's amazing what some of our younger people are actually doing in this sort of space.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there you go.
That's awesome.
Great example from the youth side. That's fabulous. Nicole, Rob is actually just south of the Coffs Coast, aren't you, Rob? Can't find you. He might have gone to get a coffee, but he's probably the
mid North Coast.
Oh, there you go, mid North Coast. There you go.
Yeah.
So, Rob, what's your feelings in this area? Because you're one of the target areas that they're looking at because of the amount of rubbish.
I came into the conversation late, 10 or 15 minutes, but just heard David Chitty's message there about ropes and things. And so they do clean up around here and waterways and on tracks and things like that. I guess national parks might be able to give you a bit more of an knowledge on who leaves what behind, but they don't seem to find a hell of a lot. I don't know if it's the amount of people or the fact that they don't go off track too much. So there's not a lot here at the moment. I mean, when I'm snorkeling or when I'm walking, I don't see a hell of a lot. People are reasonably good. That doesn't to say that they're not putting it in the recycler bin and it's not being recycled by the powers that be, but we won't go there. But something that David's point there, I mean, I'm sort of more leaning, or I'm sort of less concerned so much about 120 kilos of climbing rope. I mean, yes, it's obviously a potential to recycle, but in the scheme of things, I mean, I just looked as I was driving away listening to this thing. If a power company's using cables that have got a sleeve around it and they throw 200 tons of it away a year, that's more of a problem than 120 kilos of something that we, if we're trying to do the nth degree possible to make it all good and good for customers, I mean, it's not a great dint on the whole ecosystem thing, but I mean, sure, it's a thing, but it just adds another 1, 2 or 3% to our margin operating costs when someone over the road is throwing away and burying stuff that's more toxic and and in larger volume than us. So I'm a little bit, less inclined to worry about, whether my paddle boards or canoes and stuff are recyclable after 10 years. But I did hear the example of someone they're out in the back of the bloody Cook River up there and they don't want to touch the plastic plate, or cardboard plate. So I don't know. I'm just a little bit less concerned about it, but that's just me.
Yep. No,
Yeah, fair comment.
thanks for confirming. That's good.
Is there anything anyone would like to learn about, or are there any sort of gaps in understanding that we can look at addressing?
It's a good question.
Another question.
Actually, well, Mark's just put one up. Are there any rubbish bags, bin liners that we can use that are leak-proof and biodegradable? So I think
Good
that's
question. Don't know, but yeah.
General topic there, and feel free to jump in, Mark. But I think any advice that these guys can get from yourself or anyone you know about what they should be using that's more environmentally friendly than other things.
Yep, right.
I have some that are in the shed, so I could run out to the shed and see what brand they are. Otherwise, probably just worthwhile just having a little internet search of different products. There seems to be quite a range out there.
Yeah, I know the ones I use in my house are the Glad greens, which they're the biodegradable bin liners, but I don't know how leak-proof they are on the in the outdoors. They certainly work in my domestic bin, but Mark, I'm not too sure if they're going to work for out and about.
Okay, all right. No more comments or questions, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess from a country town perspective, because I'm living in Tennantfield, there's not necessarily provisions to have recyclable bins. They have bins, but nothing to even look at recycling. So whether they have the provision to do the recycling or not, it's a problem.
That's going to be a minimum. Like there can't be too many local councils that haven't anymore, is there?
Don't know.
That's
We certainly have a bin in the house yard for recycling, but there's nothing on the street.
Yeah.
Not New South Wales, but I was on a program up near Alice a couple of years ago, a school program. We were burning all the rubbish, or the property owners were burning all of the rubbish, which was a good thing for the kids to see. They found it quite confronting. And it really made them think about how much waste they were generating and trying to cut it down. But there definitely are still places out there that don't. Yeah,
well, that used to be a Scout motto at one point. Burn, bash, and bury was one of the things that we used to do, but we don't do that anymore. Take it with us and dispose of it properly.
I'm just watching the chat, having a bit of a giggle. Helen said another way is to use the dry bags to wash out. Mark's not too keen on that idea. But that is an option depending on the rubbish, Helen, I think. Obviously, Mark's rubbish might be a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, I mean, you can just put it in a biodegradable bin liner in a dry bag, and it's.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So the bin liner in the dry bag, yeah. Okay, that makes a bit more sense.
And then it stops the smell as well in a dry bag.
Well, that's a good idea.
You see someone bring out a rubbish bag that's a waterproof bag and just replace the liner in it. Not that I'm a reseller of Cedar Summit, but they do it.
Awesome.
Right. Okay, so next steps, if you want to get involved, we're developing a survey which is targeted for the tourism industry to have a look at how big your plastic footprint is. So the idea is you fill that out, you get a bit of information back to you, and we learn about what's going on in your area. We're keen to hear from you. So I'll share that through Laurie. If you want to keep being involved, the next step is to attend an online workshop. So at this stage, we're looking at holding those online workshops in the 3 target areas, but we may extend it depending on how the project rolls out and potential further funding. So at the completion of the project, we'll have a toolkit of resources which we're hoping anyone in tourism, in the tourism sector would, can use and implement in their businesses. So it's an opportunity to own it and act and jump off the work that this project's doing in identifying strategies and potential solutions to pretty common problems.
That's great, Nicole. I think the one thing that it hit home to me, which is why I asked Nicole to come, is all of us operate obviously in the outdoors, and anything that we can do to our brand of experience where we're looking after our workplace would certainly be advantageous to your messaging. Now, some of you are already doing this. For those that aren't, this could be something that could help fast track that. And by connecting with a brand like Take3, gives a certain connective feeling from your visitors about that environmental aspect of your experience. So this could be an easy opportunity. When I say easy, in the fact that you're not having to replicate and try to get the word out there on your own. You're using messages that's already out in the marketplace. So by capitalising on the work that Take3 has already been doing in this space, you could certainly leverage that and support that in the same frame with your business. So sorry to jump in, Nicole. I just put
well
that
said. Thanks, Laurie. That's great.
It's a great opportunity for anyone that really is serious about putting the environment as part of their brand.
So here's our contact details if you want to reach out for a chat or with any ideas or whatever. My colleague Rebecca Dawes has got a long history in the tourism industry. I'm new to tourism, but I'm here. So I'd love to hear from you, and thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been great, great to talk to you all.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicole. Thanks so much for being here. And if you want to take a photo of that screen before Nicole stops sharing, feel free to do so to get their contacts, or reach out to me and I can certainly share them with you. But you'll notice I'll put the surveys and various things in the newsletters as they come out, and Nicole will keep me up to speed with the project, which is very exciting. And the fact that National Parks is also a partner in this, you can see that they're serious about trying to reduce it as well. Thank you, Nicole.
Thanks, Laurie.
Now we've got a couple of other things which Hugh brought up something really, really interesting this morning, which I said, can you hang on and mention it later, because I think everyone needs to benefit from this. So without an intro, Hugh, can you just tell me exactly what you told me earlier?
Yeah, so I'll try and condense the whys and wherefores a little bit, but there's been an ongoing question mark about first aid kits for me and amongst my circle of friends and acquaintances since I've moved into the outdoor industry, and whether a first aid kit should be provided by an employer or it could be provided by an employee, a casual employee or a permanent one, whatever. There's some back and forth on what the views are, and I thought I'll ring Safe Work New South Wales and I'll find out from the horse's mouth. And so I did that this morning. I spoke to a guy called Paul, and he was absolutely unequivocal. It is a requirement of the employer to provide a first aid kit. I've got some notes that I can read from. I'll just read this kind of quick grab because I think it's quite good. No grey area. That one is black and white. An employer must provide access to first aid equipment, facilities, and trained first aiders in order to comply with their duty of care. So I sort of said, because one of the arguments that I've heard for and against is the way that an employer does that is by paying a first aid allowance to somebody who brings their first aid kit with them. But yeah, he was pretty firm on that one. That's a no-go. His view and the view of Safe Work is that allowance is paid because the first aider has an extra skill and because they have to sometimes undertake an unpleasant task. It's not there to reimburse them for the provision of the first aid kit and the consumables in it. So there was a bunch of other stuff, but if you're interested in, you'd like to know a little bit more, you can have a look at the Safe Work New South Wales website, the Code of Practice First Aid in the Workplace, January 2020. It's on page 9, and particularly clause 42 is the one that Paul was very passionate about.
Brilliant, Hugh. Thank you. Clause 42, did you say?
Yep. And what I can do is I'll just drop, I took some notes, and if anyone can read my handwriting, I'm just going to drop them into the comment section once I work out how to do that.
Okay, awesome. That's fabulous. Thank you so much for that. Did anyone have any questions, or is this something that has been an issue for you, or a question for you in the past? I know we've had several conversations on Facebook pages and the likes around this issue, but does that clarify anything for anyone? I think that's probably reassuring that they're all thinking the same here. So that's good. But thank you. And what I might do, with your permission, is share that on next week's membership newsletter, just to reiterate.
That'd be really good. Maybe, maybe that's something that we could have on, the Outdoor Leaders page. That's the sort of thing that, as an outdoor, bit of a freelance outdoor leader from time to time, that's the kind of thing that I would be looking for, and it'd be maybe a good thing to have shared. Great resource for somebody able to just send a link straight to an employer and say, hey, look, it's not an argument we need to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, did you want to comment?
Yeah, the only thing, we've been looking at this for a while too, and I think one of the things is that people try to inherit what happens overseas in Europe, in the United States, where guides have to provide an awful lot of things themselves. And it needs to be, people need to be made aware that workplace health and safety, safe work, whatever we call it, is what regulates our industry in Australia. That's, but no, Hugh, thanks for doing that. That's something we've been looking at too. So very timely.
Yeah.
And what do you mean? Your writing is neat.
Well, because I write in bloody block capitals.
Easily legible. No, that's awesome. Thank you so much for adding that today, Hugh. Really great info.
No worries.
And in the spirit of connecting and sharing information, Dom, did you want to give any update from what's happening in Queensland world at the moment?
Yeah, I'm happy to, Laurie. I mean, we've got our session starting just over an hour, but there's a bit of stuff going on, obviously, still about recovery from the world of COVID and all that sort of stuff, as far as some changes in that space. We're obviously quite interested in what you guys are doing with the particularly Adventure Activities Standards auditing stuff, because that's going to be an interesting piece of work as far as how that applies further. It's great to see we've actually got borders open at the moment. So, a lot of our operators up here, obviously reliant a fair bit on people from southern states like you guys and Victoria coming up here to take advantage of our wonderful natural spaces that we have, and the tourism options and even the outdoor education spaces as well. So those sort of things. So I think that's a great bit of work. I do feel, and I don't know, you might have mentioned this last week or this last week, but there's sort of a bit of a feeling that there was going to be some magic moment that on the 1st of January, that was the end of 2020 and we'd all get back to normal. And I think that, that new normal stuff is certainly taking a bit of adjustment for a lot of people in our industry, but right across society, I think. So that's an interesting challenge, I think, that we need to start thinking about, what is that new normal? What's it all look like? And how do we get on with important things like, the environmental side of things that Nicole's been talking about in the COVID safe world, which is sort of what Mark referred to, I think, as far as some of what people are looking at, where they don't want to touch something because, all your food has to be individually wrapped and everything else for COVID reasons, and then you create more waste. And even some cafes still up here are struggling with letting someone bring a keep cup to a cafe because they can't touch the cup and because they don't want to have contact with what you've just been holding. So there's a bit of that going on, but the cafes seem to be trying to work out ways around it. You know, literally at my local cafe, you've got to put your cup on a spot that they've got designated. You know, they've got numbers on the counter, and you put your cup on number 2, and they'll tip the coffee into it from a little jug rather than picking up your cup and making the cup. And it's actually pretty awesome when you see keep cups lined up on these numbers. As long as you put your cup on the right spot, you don't want to go getting the wrong cup of coffee. Obviously, that would destroy your day. But I think there's a bit of work to be done in that space. But you know, people are getting it. I think so.
Sounds like a good system. Yeah, our local cafe still don't take keep cups. So yeah, there's definitely risk aversion in a lot of that space still. Dave, Chitty, did you want to ask something? No, and yeah, you were unmuted. I saw you unmute.
Oh, okay. It was not me.
That's all right. I just saw you on mute, so I thought you might want to talk.
Just one thing with what Hugh said with the first aid. I think that fits into the discussion about pay and conditions that I and others are stirring around the country at the moment. We need not only to work out what our people should be being paid at all levels, but also those other things. Who pays for courses? Who supplies equipment? I think there needs to be. We need to develop clarity over the next 4 or 5 years, and it will take that long. But if we start now, we'll get there.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. Awesome, and thanks, Dom, for that update. That's fabulous. And on a national perspective, I think I'll end with the announcement, if I can call it an announcement. I think it's sort of leaked a bit though. Is the National Outdoor Education Conference, and the tickets will be on sale with the early bird rates next week. So if you've already registered and you've already got your seat, that's great. But early birds open at the end of next week, so you'll see some information come out on that. It's going to be a jam-packed conference. So we've spent a lot of time up in the Blue Mountains making sure that we're getting all our stuff together getting the activities done, which I'm looking at Hugh saying I've got to call him later and talk about that. But there's lots going on in that. So please make sure you register if you're interested in the National Outdoor Education Conference. Dom, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I just had one thing, or a couple of things. Great to see NOEC and that, pushing ahead. Well done on that to all involved. I know there's a lot of work there. And looking forward to it. But the other one is too, the Inside the Outhouse on Monday is going to be all about pay and conditions. So as David just mentioned, I imagine there'll be a few familiar faces there, but they're usually pretty good discussions. So they've changed the time again. I think it's 5:15 daylight saving time, I think, but
yeah, which is
they keep changing it.
Yeah, it's 6:15 Sydney time.
I thought it was 5:15 your time, but that's what I mean. We need to check these things. I thought it was 6:15 our time, but I don't know. I'm getting confused with their funky.
I know.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's the discussion on Monday. So it might be worth a look. Anyone who's interested in. And Laurie and I may or may not get it an hour either way. We'll see what happens.
Awesome. Thanks, Dom. And thanks everyone for joining us for another one. It's been recorded, so we'll throw it up onto the YouTube channel in case you want to look back on anything or refer anyone else to the content from today. So until next week, don't forget a happy hour for a quick drink and chat about all things non-serious. And that's at 4 o'clock this afternoon. But other than that, we'll see you next week at 10 o'clock. Thanks all.